So over here we have a very ginormous herb. Hard to believe it's a herb. It's called Angelica, archangelica, or simply wild celery in English. And it has these little hollow stems inside. You can just crush it with your fingers, but I wouldn't advise you to do that. And this plant, it can grow very tall. And it's a biennial. By biennial, I mean that it can grow to a certain level in 1 year and then only flower in another year before dying off. So what that means is that because it's a medicinal plant, during different life stages of the growth, for example, you can only use different parts of the plant at different stages. For example, now it's flowering. So it's nice, the stems are very nice and ready to be chopped off and be used for maybe in salads, for example. It has this very bitter taste in the stems, but the bitter taste, unlike most bitter plants, they're bitter and cooling, but this one is bitter and warming, so it can sort of enhance digestion in a way also. Typical of herbs, they help very much with enhancing digestion because they sort of have a similar family of compounds that enhance with the digestion, especially the bitter ones. So this one, now that it's flowering, I said you can opt for the stems, but not just the stems are used. There's also the roots that are used. And the roots, we can't see any right now, but the roots, when you use the roots of these plants, you need to use them before flowering when it's still quite young, and you don't use them fresh. You use them after you've dried them, and then you can add them to the teas to give flavor to your teas and the likes. And yeah, so there has been some suggestions that this plant also contains, at a particular period in its life, poisonous substances, and therefore it's quite important when you are utilizing this plant for food or medicinal purposes, you need to know at which period the plant contains these poisonous compounds. One of the other interesting things about these plants is that there's this mythology related to it. The name itself, archangelica, it comes from, so the story goes, during the plague, when people were dying, they didn't have cure for this great plague that was making them perish. One of the people who were there, who were the medicine men, they were actually visited by an archangel, whose name I can't remember, but this archangel, he actually suggested a suite of plants, of which this is one which might resemble those plants. And he suggested this plant to help in curing this great plague, and then help with people, helping stop people from perishing, and hence this name archangelica. And so it has other relatives that are heavily used to especially help with things like headaches and paralysis and the likes. But this one, it has not been conclusively been used in helping with those ones. The name of the species that I'm talking about is Angelica pubescens. So these are the variety of herbs that you can encounter in a garden or at a market, and you just need to know how do they actually assist you in making you healthier, or in making you eat healthier, or in giving you medicine. Having said that, herbs are mostly medicinal plants. There are other herbs that are also very poisonous, especially when eaten at a particular point in their lifetime or in their life cycle. So having taken you on this short tour, I want you to promise that you will at least visit again, and then we identify herbs that you can then plant in your garden, because herbs also help in the well-being of a person because of these aromatic compounds they produce.